Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhadi Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhadi Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Jasodanandana Brajajanaranja Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parijagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're going to be reading this evening from Chaitanya Bhagavata in anticipation of Lord Chaitanya's appearance day to hear pastimes of the Lord. The pastime the place we're entering is just after his visiting Gaya, receiving initiation, completely transformed personality, skipping a whole section where he went to Kanai Natashala. Well, he left in the middle of the night without saying anything to anybody, heading for Vrindavan in a madman mood. He heard a voice from the sky, demigods, don't go now, you'll go later, go back to Navadvip, deliver people, give the holy name. So he went back to Gaya with his students in a completely changed mood. He was heading for Navadvip. He went, this isn't here, but he went to Kanai Natashala. He saw Krishna. He went with his arms stretched, running to embrace Krishna. Krishna disappeared and he went mad in a mood of separation from Krishna. After that, at least it is not in Chaitanya Bhagavata, but on the appearance of Narottam Das Thakur nearby in Keturi, by the Padma River, he called out, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. Nityananda asked, what are you doing? He said, soon a great devotee will appear named Narottam. in your ecstatic love, I captured some of it and I want to invest it in the Padma River. So he did. Padma River said, how will we know it's Narottam? And as soon as he touches your water, it'll start to flood. That's him. Give this prema I'm depositing here. So that happened. Then he went back to Navadvip. So we're in Navadvip. And one of the things that I was particularly meditating on of late is the author, the compiler of Chaitanya Bhagavata is Vrindavan Das Thakur, who accepted Diksha from Lord Nityananda. And he has, the greatest glories to speak about Lord Nityananda. There was another book, Nityananda Charitamrita. But in this book, he's putting above his Lord Nityananda, his worshipable Lord and Master, is Lord Chaitanya. I find that mood is very wonderful. Very wonderful. So he's back in Navadvip, and the chapter begins, or section begins. All glories to Gaurachandra, who is the benefactor of the entire world. Please give your lotus feet in charity to my heart. All glories to Sri Gauranga along with his devotees. By hearing the topics of Lord Chaitanya, one attains the devotional service of the Lord. When all the devotees observed the Lord's love, they were struck with wonder. In great satisfaction, they went to Advaita and informed him of what they had seen. Because they were all waiting for, when will he, if that one day comes, he becomes a devotee. How wonderful. The most powerful Advaita immediately understood, through the influence of his devotional service, the Lord has incarnated. Yet the truth of Advaitacharya is difficult to understand because he sometimes reveals himself and sometimes conceals himself. When Advaitacharya heard the news, he became fully absorbed and began to speak as follows. Oh, brothers, please hear me. Last night I saw something in a dream. I was not understanding well the meaning of a passage I had read in Bhagavad Gita, so I was unhappy and took rest without eating. In the dead of night, someone came to me in a dream and said, Rise, Acharya, go, take your meal. I'm telling you the meaning of the text that you read. Now get up, eat, and worship me. Why are you feeling sad? You have obtained everything. Your resolution has been fulfilled. Your fasting, your worship, your tears while crying out the name of Krishna, and your vow and raising arms, all to induce the Lord's advent, has now become successful. The chanting of Krishna's names will be spread in all countries, all towns, and all houses. Devotional services that is rare for even Lord Brahma. Devotional service that is rare for even Lord Brahma will now be available to everyone by your mercy. All the Vaishnavas will experience realizations at the house of Srivas Pandit that are rare for even Lord Brahma. Therefore, eat your meal. I'm departing now, but I will come again while you are eating. When I opened my eyes, I saw Vishwambar, but he soon disappeared from my sight. I cannot understand Krishna's mysteries, such as which form he manifests or in whom he manifests. His elder brother, Vishwarup, used to come and study Bhagavad Gita with me. This child, Vishwambar, was so his elder brother is Vishwarup. This child, Vishwambar, was most enchantingly attractive. He used to come to my house to call his brother. On seeing the beauty of this child, my heart was captivated. I blessed him with the words, Oh, may you attain devotional service to the Lord. He is from an aristocratic family, for he is the son of Nilambar Chakravarti's daughter. He is also most erudite and possesses all good qualities, so it is befitting that he has devotion to Krishna. I have become very pleased on hearing this news. All of you kindly bless him, saying, May it be so. May the mercy of Krishna be manifest to all, and may the entire world become intoxicated by the name of Krishna. If all this is true, then everyone will come to the house of this Brahmana. Advaita Acharya roared loudly in ecstasy, and all the Vaishnava chanted in jubilation. As they all chanted the name of Hari, Lord Krishna manifested there in the form of Kirtan. Someone said, when Nimai Pandit becomes a devotee, then we will have tumultuous kirtans. All the devotees offered their obeisances to Advaita Acharya and left, chanting the name of Hari. The Lord spoke with great respect to everyone he met. When the Lord went in the morning to take bath in the Ganges, he met many Vaishnavas on the way. As soon as the Lord saw Srivas or other devotees, he offered them obeisances, and the devotees blessed the Lord out of love. May you obtain devotion at the feet of Krishna. Chant and hear the name of Krishna, my dear. If you worship Krishna, everything will be successful. And if you do not worship Krishna, then your beauty and education are useless. Krishna is the Father of the universe, and Krishna is the life and soul of everyone. Therefore, my dear, worship the lotus feet of Krishna with determination. The Lord was greatly pleased with their blessings, so he cast his merciful glance on them, saying, all your blessings are certainly fruitful. Why would you give any other lesser benedictions? You alone are capable of awarding devotional service to Krishna, for Krishna bestows his mercy on one who serves his servants. I can have devotion to Krishna only by serving you. Saying this, the Lord caught hold of their feet. He carefully wrung out the water from someone's wet cloth and handed someone else his dhoti. He collected kusha grass and clay from the Ganges for someone, and sometimes he carried a basket of flowers home for someone. Although all the Vaishnavas fervently requested him to refrain from such activities, saying, what are you doing? Vishwambar continued to serve them. In this way, Lord Vishwambar daily acted as the servant of his own servants. What service is there that the Lord will not do for his devotees? The Lord gives up his own position for the sake of his servants. Lord Gauranga taught everyone to serve Vaishnavas by his personal example. He did not feel shy as he carried their flower baskets and clothes. The Vaishnavas, however, respectfully caught hold of his hands in order to dissuade him. Seeing Vishwambar's humility, all the devotees continually offered him their heartfelt blessings. Worship Krishna, remember Krishna, and hear the names of Krishna. Let Krishna be the life and wealth of everyone. Please chant the name of Krishna and become his servant. May Krishna manifest within your heart. May nothing other than Krishna appear in your heart. Let all our miseries be dispelled by you. May those fallen persons who ridicule the performance of Kirtan drown in the transcendental mellows of Krishna consciousness. As you conquered the entire world with your mastery of the scriptures, you should destroy the atheists by worshiping Krishna. By your mercy, may we all become overwhelmed with bliss while dancing and chanting the names of Krishna. In this way, the devotees placed their hands on the Lord and blessed him while submitting their sorrows. The Lord accepted the devotees' blessings on his head, for the devotees' blessings one obtains devotion to Krishna. On hearing about the devotees' distress, Lord Vishwambar desired to quickly manifest himself. And so there's more of that discussion of his desire to manifest the fullness of his devotional opulences. The Lord exhibited ecstatic manifestations which some people did not understand. Mother Sachi was overwhelmed with anxiety and did not know what to do. So she took shelter of Govinda with her body, speech, and mind. Then she sent a messenger to the house of all the Vaishnavas headed by Srivas to inform them of the situation. One day Srivas went there, and the Lord immediately got up and offered him obeisances. On seeing a devotee, the Lord's devotional sentiments increased. His hair stood on end, his shed tears shivered, his attachment for the Lord was enhanced. At that time, the Lord was circumambulating Tulsi, but on seeing a devotee, he immediately fell unconscious. After a while, the Lord regained external consciousness and began to cry. He shivered so intensely that he was unable to remain still. When Srivas Pandit saw this wonderful sight, he thought, "Who calls this madness? This is the highest state of devotion." On regaining his external consciousness, the Lord asked Srivas Pandit, "What do you think of my behavior?" "Someone suggested that I should be bound up because of my insanity." "Oh, Pandit, what do you feel about me?" Srivas Pandit smiled and said, "Your madness is good. I want the same kind of madness that you have. I see the highest devotional symptoms in your body. Lord Krishna has bestowed his mercy on you." When the Lord heard this from Srivas, he embraced him in great happiness. Everyone concluded that I was afflicted with madness, but you alone have concluded otherwise. Therefore today I am greatly obliged to you. If you had also concluded that I was insane, that I would drown myself in the Ganges today. Srivas Pandit said, "The symptoms of devotional service that you display are desired by personalities like Brahma, Shiva, and Sanaka. We will gather and chant the names of Krishna. Let the sinful atheists say whatever they want." Srivas then said to Sachi, "Give up all your anxieties. I tell you this is not insanity. It is devotion to Krishna. No one else can understand this fact. If you wish to see many more of Krishna's mysteries, then do not tell ordinary people about this." After speaking in this way, Srivas Pandit returned home, and Sachi was relieved of thoughts that her son was affected by madness. In this way, Lord Vishwambhara resided in Navadvip. Who can know him unless he reveals himself? One day, the Lord happily went with Gadadhar to see Advaita. When they arrived, the two Prabhus saw Advaitacharya sitting and worshipping the Lord with Ganges water and Tulsi leaves. Advaita raised his two arms and loudly chanted, "Hari, Hari!" He completely forgot himself as he laughed one moment and cried the next. He roared like an intoxicated lion. His wrath was so intense, it appeared like that the great Rudra had advented. As soon as Lord Vishwambhara saw Advaita, he fell unconscious on the ground. By dint of his devotion, the mighty Advaita could recognize, "Here is the Lord of my life." He thought, "Oh, my thief, where will you go today? You've been wandering about all these days hiding just like a thief. Your thievery will not work with Advaita. Rather, I will steal from this thief right now." Understanding that it was the proper opportunity for stealing, Advaita came down from his seat with articles for worship. Advaita fell at the Lord's feet and repeatedly recited this verse. Recognizing his Lord, he cried profusely. He washed the Lord's two lotus feet with his tears and stood by the Lord's feet with folded hands. Gadadhar smiled, bit his tongue in surprise, and said, "Oh, Gosai, it is not proper to behave like this toward a boy." On hearing Gadadhar's words, Advaita smiled and said, "Gadadhar, you will recognize who this boy is someday." Gadadhar was struck with wonder and thought, perhaps the Supreme Lord has appeared. After a while, Vishwambhara regained his external consciousness and saw that Advaita Acharya was absorbed in ecstasy. Lord Vishwambhara then tried to hide himself by offering prayers to Advaita with folded hands. The Lord offered his obeisances to Advaita and then took the dust from Advaita's lotus feet. Then he surrendered his body to Advaita. "Oh, Mahasaya, please be merciful to me. Know for certain that I belong to you. My life has become successful by seeing you. Only by your mercy will I be able to chant the name of Krishna. You alone are capable of destroying my material bondage, for Krishna is always manifest in your heart. The Lord knows well how to increase the glories of his devotees. He treats his devotees as they treat him. Advaita thought, you think you are very clever, but I have stolen from the thief. Therefore Advaita smiled and said, oh, Vishvambar, to me you are greater than all. I wish to live here and discuss topics of Krishna with you, so that I can constantly see you. It is the desire of all Vaishnavas to see you and chant the holy names of Krishna with you. The Lord happily accepted Advaita's words and then returned home. Everyone was greatly pleased to see Vishvambar, but they could not recognize him as their worshipable Lord. The Lord said, there is no end to my distress, because after achieving Kanai, the Lord of my life, I lost him. That was Kanai Natashala. Everyone was satisfied to hear the Lord's confidential talk, so they all respectfully sat around him. While returning from Gaya, I came to the village called Kanai Natashala. I saw a beautiful boy, blackish like a tamal tree. His enchanting curly hair was decorated with fresh gunja. His head was decorated with colorful peacock feather, and the jewels on his body were so bright that I could not see him properly. He held an enchanting flute in his hand, and his lotus feet were adorned with attractive ankle bells. His arms were decorated with jeweled ornaments, and defeated the beauty of blue columns. His chest was adorned with the mark of Srivatsa, the Kastuba gem, and jeweled necklaces. How can I describe the manner in which he wore his yellow garments? His shark-shaped earrings increased the beauty of his lotus eyes. He smiled as he approached me, and after embracing me, he ran away. Who can understand the mood in which Gaurasundar speaks, except one who is favored by him? While speaking in this way, Vishvambar lost consciousness and fell to the ground, exclaiming, "Oh, Krishna!" The devotees quickly picked him up as they all chanted, "Krishna, Krishna." They pacified him and brushed the dust from his body. Although the Lord was pacified, he could not remain quiet. He continuously cried, saying, "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna?" After a while, Sri Gaurasundar became calm and exhibited extreme natural humility. Everyone present became greatly satisfied in hearing the Lord's explanation of his devotional sentiments. They said, "We are all dependent upon you. May you lead us in kirtan. Our bodies are burning from the fiery words of atheists. Please relieve us with the cool waters of your love." Thereafter, the Lord happily solaced everyone and returned to his home like a maddened lion. Very sweet, huh? In the evening, all the devotees gradually assembled at the Lord's house. At that time, Sri Mukunda, one of the Lord's associates, began to recite various verses, glorifying devotional service. The most fortunate Mukunda had such a divine voice that as soon as the crest jewel of Brahmanas heard him, he became absorbed in a trance. The Lord began to loudly cry out, "Hari Bol!" Then he fell to the ground in various directions, and no one could hold him. All transformations of ecstatic love, like fear, laughter, shivering, perspiration, hair standing on end, and thundering voice, simultaneously manifested in his body. On seeing this unique manifestation, devotees sang in great joy. The loving sentiments of the Lord could not be checked. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly led congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the house of Srivas every night for 1 full year. This ecstatic chanting was performed with the doors closed so that non-believers who came to make fun could not gain entrance. Thus the non-believers almost burned to ashes and died out of envy. To retaliate, they planned various ways to give trouble to Srivas Thakur. One night, while Kirtan was going on inside Srivas Thakur's house, a Brahmana named Gopal Chapala, the thief, the chief of the non-believers, who was talkative and very rough in his speech, placed all the paraphernalia for worshipping the goddess Durga outside Srivas Thakur's door. On the upper portion of a plantain leaf, he placed such paraphernalia for worship as Oda, Pula, turmeric, vermilion, red sandalwood, and rice. He placed a pot of wine beside all of this. And in the morning, when Srivas Thakur opened his door, he saw this paraphernalia. Srivas Thakur called for all the respectable gentlemen of the neighborhood and smilingly addressed them as follows: Gentlemen, every night I worship goddess Bhavani. Since the paraphernalia for the worship is present here, now you all respectable brahmanas and members of the higher caste can understand my position. Then all the assembled gentlemen exclaimed, What is this? What is this? Who has performed such mischievous activities? Who is that sinful man? They called for a sweeper, who threw all the items of worship far away and cleansed the place by mopping it with mixture of water and cow dung. After 3 days, leprosy attacked Gopal Chapala, and blood oozed from the sores all over his body. Since leprosy is an infectious disease, Gopal Chapala left the village to sit down on the bank of the Ganges underneath a tree. One day, however, he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing by and spoke to him as follows: My dear nephew, I am your maternal uncle. In our village relationship, please see how greatly this attack of leprosy has afflicted me. As an incarnation of God, you are delivering so many fallen souls. I am also a greatly unhappy fallen soul. Kindly deliver me by your mercy. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared greatly angry. And in that angry mood, he spoke some words chastising him. You have made Srivas Thakur appear to have been worshipping goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you'll have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges, and that sinful man did not give up his life, but continued to suffer. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri and then came back to the village of Kulia, upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him instructions for his benefit. Quote, You have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur, the Lord said. First, you must go there and beg for his mercy. Then, if he gives you his blessings and you do not commit such sins again, you'll be freed from all these reactions. Then the Brahmana Gopal Chapala went to Srivas Thakur and took shelter of the lotus feet, and Srivas Thakur's mercy, he was freed from all sinful reactions. The entire night passed like a moment. They're having evening kirtan. In the morning, the Lord seemed to regain some external consciousness. In this way, the son of Shachi regularly performed kirtan in his house throughout the day and night. Thus, the Supreme Lord inaugurated the performance of kirtan. As a result, all the devotees' distress was mitigated. As Sri Sachinandana loudly called out, Hari Bol, the sleep of the atheists was repeatedly broken. When the happiness of their sleep was broken, the atheists became angry and blasphemed according to their desires for their ruination. Someone said, What madness has come upon them? Someone else said, We are unable to sleep at night. Someone said, The Lord will be angry because of this loud noise, and that will result in their destruction. Another said, Rather than cultivating knowledge, they are acting most arrogantly. Someone else said, Who knows what kind of kirtan they are doing? The foolish Brahmana Srivas is behind all this. In order to fill their bellies for begging, these 4 brothers, Srivas said 3 brothers, loudly called out the name of Krishna as if they were afflicted by insanity. This morning I heard that on the king's order 2 boats are on their way here. The king has heard about this loud kirtan in Nadia. Therefore he has ordered that they are arrested and brought before him. From town to town the news was spread. The king's men are coming to arrest the Vaishnavas. When the Vaishnavas heard this news, they all subdued their fears by remembering Govinda. Whatever Krishna Chandra ordains must take place. Why should one fear wicked persons when the Lord is there? Srivas Pandit was most liberal. He had firm faith in whatever he heard, considering that the Yavanas were ruling the kingdom. He became fearful. And Gaurachandra knew the heart of his devotee. The devotees did not know that the Lord had personally appeared. Therefore, the son of Sachi began to reveal himself. Mahaprabhu Vishvambar, who was incomparable throughout the three worlds and more attractive than Cupid, fearlessly wandered about Navadvip. Fragrant sandalwood pulp was smeared all over his body. His lotus eyes and crimson lips were enchanting. His curly hair adorned his face, which resembled the full moon. A Brahmana thread enhanced the beauty of his shoulders and his exquisite form. He was dressed in fine cloth, and his lips were tinged with the color of betel. He happily proceeded toward the bank of the Ganges. On seeing him, all the pious persons became happy, and all the atheists became morose. Quote, in spite of hearing the rumors, he is not at all frightened. He wanders about town like a prince. Someone else said, oh, brother, I have understood. Wait a while, and you will see. This is all a cover-up for his escape. Vishvambar fearlessly looked around and saw before him the beautiful flowing Ganges and its charming banks. He saw nearby a herd of grazing cows who were lowing as they came to the bank of the river to drink water. On seeing this, the Lord repeatedly thundered, I am he! I am he! In that mood, the Lord rushed to Srivas's house, where he loudly exclaimed, Oh, Srivas, what are you doing? The Lord kicked again and again on the door of the room where Srivas was worshipping Nrsingadev. Who are you worshipping? Who are you meditating on? Look, he whom you are worshipping is standing before you. Srivas Pandit saw blazing fire, and his meditation was broken. He opened his eyes and looked around him. He saw Vishvambar, sitting like a hero, and holding a conch disc club and lotus in his four hands. The Lord repeatedly roared like an intoxicated lion as he slapped the left side of his stomach. On seeing him, Srivas Pandit began to tremble and became completely speechless. The Lord said, Oh, Srivas, all these days you did not know about my appearance? By your loud chanting and Nadia's roaring, I left Vaikuntha and came here with my associates. You are living unconcerned, without recognizing me, and Nadia has avoided me by going to Shantipur. And Nada, Advaitacharya. I will deliver the saintly persons and destroy the miscreants. Do not worry. Offer prayers to me. Srivas cried out loud on seeing the Lord, and the fear in his heart was dispelled by the Lord's assurance. Srivas's entire body became filled with ecstasy, and he stood up with folded hands and began offering prayers to the Lord. Srivas Pandit was a natural scholar and a Mahabhagavata. Having been ordered by the Lord, he offered heartfelt prayers. He first recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that was spoken by Lord Brahma after his bewilderment. After Sri Krishna smashed the pride of Brahma, who stole the calves from Braja, Brahma came before Krishna and offered prayers as follows. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Vishvambar, whose bodily complexion is the color of a newly formed cloud, and who is dressed in yellow garments. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sachi's son, whose head is decorated with strands of fresh gunja and peacock feathers. I offer my respectful obeisances at the feet of Gangadas Pandit's student, who wears a forest flower garland and holds yogurt rice in his hand. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Jagannath Mishra's son, whose attractive form defeats the beauty of millions of moons. I offer my obeisances unto you who are adorned with horn, stick, and flute. You are that person who is addressed by the four Vedas as the son of Maharaj Nanda. I offer my obeisances unto you. Srivas Pandit offered the Lord prayers similar to those offered by Brahma. Whatever he spoke came to his lips spontaneously. You are Vishnu, you are Krishna, you are the Lord of sacrifice. The holy waters of the Ganges emanate from your lotus feet. You are the life and soul of Janaki, and you are Nrsingadev. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and others are your servants of your lotus feet. You are the knower of Vedanta, and you are Narayana. It was you who deceived Bali as Vamana. You are Hayagriva, and you are the life and soul of the entire universe. You are the moon-like Lord of Nilachala, and the cause of all causes. Who is not bewildered by your illusory energy? Even though Goddess Lakshmi lives with you, she does not know your glories. You bewilder even that Lord who serves you as your companion, friend, brother, and so what to speak of others? Oh, Lord of my life, please listen. That does not make me fearful, for you have now appeared before my eyes. Today all my miseries are vanquished. Today is the most auspicious day for me. Today my life and activities have become successful. Today all good fortune has awakened for me. Today my forefathers have become delivered. Today my home is truly blessed. Today there's no limit to the good fortune of my eyes, for I am seeing whose lotus feet are served by Rama, the goddess of fortune. While speaking in this way, Srivas Pandit became overwhelmed in ecstasy. He raised his arms, cried, and sighed deeply. The most fortunate Srivas rolled on the ground after seeing that most wonderful manifestation of Shri Gaurasundar. What wonderful happiness was felt in the body of Srivas. The best of the Brahmanas merged in the ocean of bliss. The Lord smiled after hearing the prayers of Srivas. Being compassionate to Srivas, the Lord spoke to him. Bring your wife, children, and other members of your household, and let them see my form. In the company of your wife, worship my lotus feet, and ask for any benediction you desire. Being ordered by the Lord, Srivas immediately brought all his family members. He offered at the feet of the Lord whatever flowers were there for the worship of Vishnu. In the company of his wife, the Brahmana cried as he worshipped the lotus feet of the Lord with sandalwood paste, flowers, incense, and lamps. Srivas Pandit led his brothers, wife, servants, and maidservants in humbly falling at the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Vishwambar is the well-wisher of Srivas, so he placed his lotus feet on the heads of everyone there. Unseen by all, the Lord touched everyone's heads with his feet. He smiled and said, "May your minds be fixed on me." Lord Vishwambar roared loudly and spoke to Srivas as follows. "O Srivas, are you afraid of something? Is there some rumor that the king's boat is coming to arrest you? By my own supreme will, I am the director of all living entities in the innumerable universes. The king will have you arrested only if I make him do so. If this were not the case, if he independently ordered your arrest, then this is what I will do. I will be the first to board the boat and present myself before the king. Will the king remain sitting on his throne after seeing me? I will bewilder him and drag him down. If this does not happen and he holds me for questioning, then this is what I will tell him. Listen, O king, bring all your mullahs and qazis to ascertain the truth. O king, bring all the elephants, horses, animals, and birds that you have. Instruct your qazis to recite your scriptures and make those creatures cry. If they are unable to do this, then I will manifest myself to the king. You dare to stop Sankirtana on the advice of these fellows? Everyone has now seen what power they actually have. Now behold my power with your own eyes." After saying this, I will bring an intoxicated elephant before him. I will gather the elephants, horses, deer, and birds and induce them to chant the name of Krishna and cry. I will induce everyone to chant the name of Krishna and cry, including the king and his subjects. Do not maintain the slightest doubt. I will show you now before your eyes The Lord then looked at Srivasa's niece, a small girl named Narayani, standing before him. Even today, Narayani is known among the Vaishnavas as the recipient of Lord Chaitanya's remnants. Sri Gauranga, the super soul of all living entities, ordered her, Narayani, chant the holy name of Krishna and cry. That 4-year-old girl immediately acted as if she was mad. She cried and chanted, "Oh, Krishna," and forgot herself. Tears flowed from her eyes to the ground, making the area around her wet. Lord Vishwambar smiled and said, "Now, have your fears been dispelled?" The expert speaker Srivas knew all truths. He raised his arms and spoke to the Lord, "O Lord, when you, in the form of time, annihilate and create the entire creation, I am not afraid due to the powers of your holy names. So what is there to fear now that you are personally present in my house?" After speaking in this way, Srivas Pandit became overwhelmed as he and his associates saw the Lord's opulences. He whom the 4 Vedas desired to see was seen by Srivasa's servants and maidservants. What can I say about the magnanimous character of Srivas? The dust of his lotus feet purifies the entire world. Krishna appeared in the house of Vasudeva, yet he enjoyed various pastimes in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Similarly, the Lord appeared in the house of Jagannath Mishra, and he enjoyed various pastimes in the house of Srivas Pandit. Srivas Pandit was most dear to the Vaishnavas. They all became filled with joy on entering his house. The Supreme Lord, who has offered heartfelt prayers by the Vedas, was easily seen by the servants and maidservants of Srivas. That is why service to the Vaishnavas is the topmost process, for by the mercy of the Vaishnavas one certainly attains Krishna. Lord Vishwambar instructed Srivas, "Do not disclose these topics to anyone." He must have told somebody. On regaining external consciousness, Vishwambar felt somewhat ashamed. After solacing Srivas, he returned home. Then Srivas Pandit, along with his wife, his brother's wives, his brothers, his servants, and his maidservants, became filled with happiness. When the servants recognized their Lord, their hearts became filled with bliss. Then they no longer feared the atheists, and they freely and loudly chanted the names of Krishna at all public places. In the company of the Lord, all the devotees happily engaged day and night in chanting the holy names. All the devotees assembled together, except Nityananda. Gaurachandra became unhappy not seeing his brother. Vishwambar constantly remembered Nityananda, and Nityananda, who is non-different from Ananta, could understand this. Now, Lord Nityananda hadn't reached Navadvip yet. The Sankirtana pastimes had begun, but he was still in Vrindavan, waiting for his cue to come on stage, and he's about to appear. That's our next discussion. So what to say? I mean, with these pastimes, I'm used to, after something, all kinds of questions, and not too many questions about Chaitanya Bhagavata. It's just very relishable. Very relishable. So any discussion? Anything from anybody? It's on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I have, first of all, I would like to say something. Then I will ask some questions. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I have to say something to you personally, and then I will ask some questions. So first of all, I would like to say my heartfelt of gratitude and thank you appreciation to you to taking these classes for all these times what we've been experiencing. It's a very difficult time for almost a year we are in this. And your classes has helped me a lot to deal with this time. It has become like routine for me to listen to you every day.
But you don't ask questions. I didn't even know that you were there until you just said that you were there.
I was there. I was there.
Okay.
It has really helped me a lot to deal with this time, and
Okay.
it has like brought me a lot of focus on my spiritual life.
Very good.
And I feel very closer to you, close to Krishna. And yes, it has become like a daily routine to me to listen to you, listen to other sannyasis lecture as well, and reading and chanting. So it has improved a lot during these times. So thank you so very much. And I'm not sure what will I do if this continuation will not be there. I don't know what to do with that time.
Well, you can go back and listen again and again. That's what you can do.
We have to figure it out. Yes.
Many people are saying, slow down, I can't keep up.
Not for me. It is really helping me, really. Yeah. And so my question is, Maharaj, that first of all, I would like to ask you one thing, that all these Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pastimes, which we've been hearing, when did he become Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Like we are listening, he was Nimai, he was Vishambar Prabhu, his name was. Who started calling him Chaitanya?
It's sannyas, Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
So that's not a name, that's just a upadhi?
It was the name that was given to him at his sannyas initiation, Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Oh, okay. I missed that, I guess.
That was his sannyas name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Oh, okay. And second question is what I've been thinking about it, like this Sampradaya is Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, right?
Brahma Madhva Gaudiya, yeah.
Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Vaishnava, I understand, but why is this become Gaudiya?
Because from Madhvacharya, there are teachings and worship that are not precisely the same as the teachings and the worship of Madhva. The thread is essentially the same, but it's like the comparison is given to a tree and a branch of a tree. So the Gaudiya branch is a branch of the Brahma Madhva tree. And so the thread is the same, and there are some distinctions. And the distinctions have a lot to do with, it's a long topic. If you're interested, there's a very erudite 3-part seminar on the 9 pillars of Madhvacharya and the connection between Lord Chaitanya's teachings and Madhva's teachings. Or there's a book that was composed by Bhaktisiddhanta on what are the teachings of each of the sampradayas and their disciplic successions, like Bhaktisiddhanta detail, and how they compare with Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Now, that book is available. You probably have a copy in your library, okay. And you can, if you're interested. But why the principle is, like for example, Madhvacharya did not engage in a worship of a form of the goddess of fortune, like Udupi Krishna. There's no Satyabhama or Rukmini, or what to speak of Radharani. And then the followers of, in that same line, Madhavendra Puri, who found the deity of Gopal, and he's still being worshipped without a Radharani by his side. But the followers of Lord Chaitanya began installing deities of Radha next to Krishna. So that's a worship detail. And then there must be, and there is, scripture to support that worship detail. And there's other things. There's other things without going into the other things. But if you're interested, you can go through these 9 pillars of Madhva's teachings.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm asking about this Gaudiya especially because like my family, like we are God Brahmins. My family, like from the generation, we are
Sure.
called God Brahmins. So why, and these God Brahmins are always like, they're fine in West UP, and we heard from our ancestors that we come from Bengal, but we all got like located into one area like Punjab and Haryana and West UP, something, some places like that, close to Vrindavan. So I don't know like why these are gods. They were like married. They have like a family. They became like villagers and all these like this thing happened. So I just think like why we are God Brahmins. So why, what is this? Where this coming from? So that's my question was about.
Well, being born Brahmins that have some descent, ancestral descent from Bengal, does not necessarily connect anything with Lord Chaitanya. There were
Okay.
Brahmanas that were in Bengal that weren't, dedicated to Lord Chaitanya.
Okay.
So the two are not necessarily connected. But, why Madhva, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya, Gaudiya has to do with Lord Chaitanya and his teachings. So Dvaita Vad is Madhva's teachings. Lord Chaitanya's teachings is Achinta Beda Abeda. That term was not used by Lord Chaitanya. It was a term that was given by Jiva Goswami to describe Lord Chaitanya's teachings, based on Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's in Bhagavad Gita too. But so it's a rendering of the essential teachings that there's a oneness and difference of all things that come from their source, oneness and difference. That's a major difference.
Okay.
But then there's subdivisions of that major difference. But why you're asking is because you're born Brahmins in Mathura or Vrindavan. Has nothing to do with Gaudiya.
No, why I'm saying that because God Brahmins, and then like their behavior, their lifestyle is very Vaishnav culture.
Okay,
So
that's nice.
yeah.
Well, but Brahmanas, aside from the Brahmanas that are Sharmas, there's Brahmanas that are Vaishnavas all over the place. And there's Brahmanas that are non-Vaishnava all over the place.
Okay.
There may be some historical connection that I'm unaware of. This is the first I've heard this. That, the ancestry that you came prior some years ago came from Bengal. I have no idea about that history. Prabhupada never spoke about it. I'm unaware of it otherwise. Not surprised, but I have no comment.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Anything? Okay.
This question is from Jyotirmaya Mataji. In some occasion, I have heard from Sri Mahaprabhu's pastimes that he closes his ears when devotees called him as Krishna, whereas in this pastime I heard you read that he says he is Lord Nrsimhadev. How to understand the difference when the Lord is revealing his identity?
It's his mood. He's not confined. Generally, his mood was, I'm a devotee. And a devotee doesn't want to be called Vishnu because considering Vishnu and the Jiva to be the same is an offense. So he would consider an offense. No. But in this case, it was to relieve in this case, to relieve Srivas of his fear of the king and, retaliation against the Vaishnavas, not just him and his family, for, the loud kirtan and so forth. So he was relieving his fear. That's how we understand. And he wants to be in service to his devotees, so the major part of his service to the devotees was exhibiting love for Krishna, not revealing that he's Krishna.
This is a question from Snehavalli Mataji. A clarification. Vrindavan Das Thakura must have composed Chaitanya Bhagavat at a very, very early age because he is the son of Narayani, who herself was very young when Mahaprabhu got initiated by Ishwarapuri. Is that correct?
Well, it's not correct that he was very, very young. He could have been an old man when he compiled it. He knew of the pastimes from his childhood, yes.
This question is from Lingaraja Prabhu. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, traveling to Jagannath Puri, were there pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu together? I think Nityananda Prabhu did not travel with the Lord to other places such as Vrindavan, South India. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The second part is, how long did Nityananda Prabhu stayed with Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri?
He stayed for the duration of time that the devotees, it was 2 or 3 years. They came from Bengal, he went with them, and then he went back when they went back. And then on the third year, I think it was, he pulled them to the side in a private place and said, go back and preach, don't return with the devotees again. Because I want my purpose of appearing in this world to distribute the holy name to be done through you. So that was it between the two lords.
This question is from Uttama Bhakta Prabhu. In what ways Chaitanya Bhagavat is similar and different from Chaitanya Charitamrita in terms of pastimes and the mood?
Well, we've already discussed this, but it's nice to repeat it. The style is spontaneous as opposed to academic. And Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita is not like cerebral, but it's giving scriptural references for everything, and multiple scriptural references for everything, and explaining things, in detail with scriptural references. It's very profound, comprehensive, from the beginning of his life to the end. And Vrindavan Das Thakur's style is more spontaneous, and he doesn't really give a hoot if the audience understands what he's saying or not. It's just very rasika and filled with joy and juice and happiness. And it doesn't extend to the latter parts of his life. He had direct experience of the earlier parts. And so what Chaitanya Charitamrita does is those earlier parts, it just touches on them chronologically, saying, I don't want to overwhelm this with volumes. It's already been spoken by Vrindavan Das, and he glorifies Vrindavan Das like anything. So he doesn't repeat, so it doesn't become redundant and, overburdened with. But the later part has many, 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 many details that, his life in Puri and so forth, that Vrindavan Das didn't have access to and didn't write about.
This question is from Govinda Mohini Mataji. In one of your Detroit lectures, it was mentioned that attachment to devotees, temple, etc. is not something we should have.
What?
Attachments to devotees, temples, etc. is not something we should have.
I don't know about that. I don't know where you that's news to me.
So she has a little further. We also understand that the topmost attachment is being attached to Krishna and his service.
Yeah, so that's maybe the answer. Subordinate to one is the other, but it's not the other, is don't be attached to the devotees.
How about if one develops attachment to doing one's sadhana in the practice stage? Is that a healthy attachment?
Oh, yeah.
This is from Sundari Radha. This is from the morning class. Maharaj,
The Chinese class?
yeah.
Ooh, okay.
You spoke about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur not wanting to press charges to the people who were abusers to the Sankirtan party.
Yeah,
He was able to forgive them.
yes.
How can we learn this principle without encouraging people to be unhealthy in relationships?
Well, if you're very spiritually powerful, you can do it. Now, it's a different persons, different great exalted persons at different times will behave differently. I mean, like for example, Prabhupada, when people, there was a brainwashing court case in New York. Prabhupada was fire. He wasn't like forgiving. It was fire. He said some really heavy things. So, but at other times he was very soft, and so great personalities are inspired by Super Soul, and according to the call of the situation and who's around and so forth, their hearts move, and they move as their hearts move. So it can be different things at different times, but it certainly is an example of Bhaktisiddhanta being very kind and forgiving. And he speaks like this. I mean, some of the quotes from what we read, and what to speak of the ones we didn't read, Bhaktisiddhanta's speech was, consider these people as, instruments of Krishna's kindness to you. Now, in different circumstances you see that way, in other circumstances you see, like Prabhupada, like fire. So, therefore, you got to be in pure consciousness, guided by Krishna.
This question is from Sanchari. Has Madhvacharya ever spoken about Srimati Radharani, especially when speaking of Krishna's Vraja pastimes?
I'm not well read in Madhvacharya's writings, so I can't say.
If he did not, then where do the followers of the Madhva Sampradaya gain the understanding that justifies their position on Radharani?
I don't know what their position on Radharani is. I know what their position on Lakshmi is. It's in, but your mom is from that sampradaya. Ask your mom. She probably knows more about that than I do, because I don't know. But Madhva's teaching is very different. It's different than the other three sampradayas and Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And on this particular point, it's Lakshmi is a jiva. That is to say, he doesn't have a separate tattva of Shakti tattva. Lakshmi is a jiva. What? No, I'm not well read, and don't ask me to elaborate on it. That's what the teaching says from his own teachings. If you want an elaborate version, 9 Pillars of Madhva's Teachings, Hari Parshad speaking. You can look it up, or remind me and I'll send you the links. I sent them to Surabhi just the other day because she was also asking some questions, and it's like mind-blowing, all the details he has. Or there's this book by Bhakti Siddhanta, gives lots of details.
These questions are from Kirti Prabhu. First one. Follow up on the earlier question. Does Gaudiya in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, one of the names of Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya?
No, it's a verse from where he's from. Gaudadesh. Gaudiya. It refers to, but it's not one of his names.
And the second question is, how to relate with Mahaprabhu? His pastimes are more bewildering than Krishna's.
More?
Bewildering. Bewildering.
What's the word? Bewildering? Bewildering. Well, it's postgraduate. Go back to the undergraduate and graduate so you don't get bewildered.
This question is from...
He's exhibiting spontaneous love of God. In the most extreme, not even jivas can manifest what he was manifesting. What to speak of when he gets to Jagannath Puri. Go ahead.
Girivara Dhari Prabhu. Srivas Pandit was Srivas Pandit a grihastha?
Of course.
Did he take sannyas later?
No.
Among Panchatattva, did anyone continue as grihastha serving the Lord?
Yes. Srivas is an example. Advaita is another example.
Uttama Bhakta Prabhu's question.
Nityananda is another example. Go ahead.
Uttama Bhakta Prabhu's question is, who translated Chaitanya Bhagavat into English?
There's several, but Bhumipati is the common one. Okay. Button.
When you were saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Shiva's Pandit's house and he told him that he is the Supreme Personality of God and worship him. So Shiva's Pandit, what did he see? Like he just heard him saying that and he started worshipping him and he saw something when...
Yeah. I mean, in the introduction section, Srivas was very soft-hearted, which is one of the main characteristics of prema. And just hearing and seeing, his consciousness totally shifted. But then he showed his four-armed Vishnu form, etc. So, he wasn't just, it was a whole display of his opulences.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And then it reassured him, this is what I would do, and then demonstrated with Narayani, and he didn't need it, but he was okay. I'm convinced.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So my question is, based on these stories, like obviously we're saying they're bewildering and whatnot.
Yeah.
So when you're listening to these lectures, I'm a practical kind of person. So it's kind of like, what do you take away from this? Like, for example, if someone were to like go unconscious from prema or just being too ecstatic, I would like dial 911. I would try to figure out like what's going wrong with this person. So when you're listening to these lectures, what do you take away and what are lessons you're supposed to look for in these?
Well, for ordinary people, the message is ordinary people, it's repeated over and over. Ordinary people would not understand. So the takeaway for people that are like most of us that are kind of ordinary people, the stage of transformation of consciousness that Lord Chaitanya exhibited and then imparted to others, because by his association they became like him, was the highest level of prema. And, it's not something that we can understand or imitate or just, wow, that's Lord Chaitanya. It's not like we're meant to attain that state. It's just, it's described that it just notched up and notched up and notched up and notched up and notched up. Then sometimes he would, have to deal with worldly people. So he would contain his emotion. And as soon as the worldly people were gone, he would, be different. Or he was exhibiting the highest stage of love on the level of Radharani's love for Krishna, which is also there's not a lot of discussion about that. There's some, but not a lot of discussion about that in the Bhagavatam, but the writings of the Goswamis describe it a lot. And it's hard to understand. But it's Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Radharani. That's a hard to understand love for Krishna. It doesn't match, our little binary processors. It's just on another level, otherworldly, ecstatic expressions. So if as a practical person you can think about waves in the ocean, and sometimes the waves are smaller, and sometimes the waves are bigger, and sometimes the waves get really big, and sometimes those waves crash into other waves. And that's what Lord Chaitanya was doing. He was exhibiting the prema rasa sindhu, the ocean of prema rasa that would sometimes and sometimes and sometimes. And he was just being tossed by the waves of those ecstatic, like Radharani, in her love for Krishna. So sometimes he would become calm and say, did I say something strange? No,
So-
what do you think of me, Srivas?
So when you're listening to these lectures, are you kind of lectures or like reading and whatnot? Are you supposed to kind of just
Go with the flow.
try to appreciate it, or
Yeah,
like are there things that you can take from that and apply to like your own practice?
Oh, well,
Because obviously we can't. Try to imitate
But you say that you're a practical person, and so am I. But I find that it's practical to recognize that Lord Chaitanya is not an ordinary person, and the love for Krishna that he was extending to others wasn't ordinary. Now, our experience isn't going to be his experience because we're jiva souls. But, what's awaiting us is not a life of disorientation. It's a life of ecstatic love for Krishna. In the devotees, and so how did the devotees, this is a practical takeaway, how did the devotees that were around Lord Chaitanya, because these are his eternal associates, how did they behave towards him? They just had regard for him. And, they watched him do what he did, and when he crashed to the ground, they would comfort him and pick him up and sprinkle water or something. But our life is meant for something more than fruitive work. Now, what does that look like? Well, it's not going to look like what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, but our life is meant for something more. Let's just say, for most people, Bhagavad Gita control your mind and senses. You know, the Upanishads, control your mind and senses. Karma yoga, Gyan yoga, you know, a little touching over here on bhakti yoga. You know, straighten up and, you know, purify yourself. That's the message for most people. And then comes, you know, a Bhagavatam, the deeper understanding of the object of devotion, Krishna. Deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, you know, very deep. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita is ecstatic love for Krishna. Ooh. And Chaitanya Bhagavata is no boundaries. He didn't explain anything. He just he just narrates his pastimes as he came to know them. And people may understand, they may not understand. If they don't like it, you know, cello. Not like that, not snobbery. But yeah, it's an esoteric literature for persons that can relish rasa. And so the practical takeaway is it stimulates rasa. Knowingly or unknowingly, even for practical people. Because it has that potency. The pastimes are like that. So my life is meant for something more than fruitive work and being the enjoyer of the fruits of my work. Because for most people, that's the struggle. Karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga, that's their struggle. They get, okay, I'm spirit, soul, not the body. Now, how do I live my life? You know, I don't have a disagreement with the philosophy, but how do I live it? So, that's Bhagavad Gita. Nishkam karma yoga. And then, okay, not just detach from the fruits, but you offer yourself, body, mind, and words to Krishna's service. Okay, well, I can work on that. And then where's that going? You get on that train, and where's the train going? You know, Krishna Loka, what's that like? That's Bhagavatam. I mean, there's hints. No need of sunlight, moonlight, electricity, and everything is there is eternal. It's not destroyed when this is destroyed. Okay, that's what it's not. What about what is it? Bhagavatam. And what's the mood of love? What's the goal of life? What does it look like? Because Lord Chaitanya was distributing Braja Prem, and he was at the topmost stage of that Braja Prem. That's what it looks like when exhibited in this world. And he enthused his associates like that. Now, they didn't do some of the inexplicable things that he did. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they did. You have something more over here? Okay, we're done? No, we're done. Okay, Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.